So let's now talk and take a little bit of time to discuss the installation process for network discovery. Couple things I want to address at the very beginning. So if you have have gone through the process of working with a sales team here at Lansweeper, or maybe pre-sales, maybe they put for you a proof of concept and put that in place, you might want to consider taking that proof of concept and putting that straight into production. Granted, now, if you started in a sandbox environments can sometimes be very wide open. So you may need to go through the process of configuring, your network ports and firewall rules and things like that to get it in place. But that is one option instead of having to reinstall everything, especially if you've gone through the process for a really good trial run, have installed lots of different credentials and scan targets. Maybe you want to keep that going. Maybe you don't want to start over. Sometimes, I don't know, if you're like me, when I'm doing a trial, I put a lot of some maybe fake information in, or I try a whole bunch of bad credentials or bad information. I want to see how the product is going to be acting with improper configurations as well. So if that's the case, and maybe you just want to start over, feel free, of course, start over. No matter what you choose, it's not going to impact your license necessarily. So go through that process of decommissioning, uninstalling your the installation properly outside of and through the Lansweeper platform, and making sure that it is cleaned up and ready to go. But I would make sure a couple things are in place, that you've got the required permissions are in place. So you have, before you go through the installation process, make sure you're working with your security team. Let them know that you're going to be querying and looking through the network. Sometimes they have got some rules and some security monitoring tools in place that are going to detect and see that you are querying through the network, pinging every single IP. Some of the actions that Lansweeper is going to be doing could look nefarious or could look very malicious. So making sure that you've alerted your security team that they're aware. Your networking team as well. Networking team is going to be aware of lots of extra communication that's happening through those networks, through the specific ports that of their switches that maybe have not happened before. So if they've got some reporting and so forth in place, they might see extra activity. Let them know what's going on. Your system administrator, unless you are one, make sure that they're aware, to make sure that, and I would also call it the virtualization team too, making sure that they're aware that new servers are going to be spun up. What are they going to be used for? Which permissions? When I think about some of the more complex environments that are using some of the Lansweeper features like network visibility, also known as Asset Radar, with its listening capabilities, it's very possible that you may want to add more than one network card or a NIC to each of those servers. And by doing that, putting a separate network card on the server for each of the virtual network cards for each of the different VLANs that you have gives Lansweeper a lot more visibility, but it also may look suspicious too. Might look kind of strange to have a specific server that is looking through and accessing multiple VLANs all at the same time, different areas. So just letting your teams be aware, just kind of some of the things that I've experienced and wanted you to be aware of. We do have a requirements page. I really like to reference this. So you go to community.lansweeper.com. Under the Knowledge Center, we have the knowledge base that has the requirements. And this requirements page is great because it just has lots of different requirements for the different things. So, if you're running the SQL Server version, which is the classic version, what are the requirements for that? Windows domain scanning requirements. You can get into this and see what ports are required, permissions that might be required. If you're using LS Agent or IT Agent, it gives you what's needed and necessary there. And the list just goes on and on. So we have, this is, I think, a great place for you to start as well, to look in there and see what requirements are going to be needed for your environment and each of the VLANs and asset types that you want to discover. And something else too that I would also recommend looking into, what I want to call out specifically, because it's most familiar and it's probably the most common, is going to be the Windows permissions. So let's go into a Windows, let's first of all look at the domain requirements. So what we're looking at here is looking at specifically the domains themselves, looking at the different architectures and so forth that's going to be going on. But what we really want to do is look at like a Windows asset itself. What's required to view a Windows asset, a Mac asset, a a switch asset. The different asset types require very unique permissions. And I think the Windows assets is something that I enjoy addressing because it's something that I think probably most of us have and as most common. On this page here in the knowledge base called Windows Domain Scanning Requirements, we can see some of the architecture information and so forth here. This is interesting. We can see here by default, Windows sends WMI over random ports. It explains this information. But something I want to address here is the credentials. So it says here, I'm just going to read it right out. You must provide Lansweeper with a username password combination that has administrative privileges on the client machine. I think that's going to be the key word here, on the client machine. And for scanning Active Directory information, read-only access to Active Directory. So when we're scanning a Windows machine, whether it's on the domain or not, if it's in a work group as well, you need to have administrative privileges on the local machine. This is going to be a key thing. So think about this just for a minute. This local administrative account can be set up that it is something that maybe the desktop or support team puts in place upon deploying the machine. This could be done through a GPO that is creating a local machine, local account. This could be done through a script that creates the local account. This account does not need to have interactive permissions. It doesn't need to log in. So if you create this account inside of Active Directory, as an example, it doesn't have to have interactive permissions. So if it's an Active Directory account, like I said, no interactive, then it is easily managed. But if it's only going to be managed through the local machine, it doesn't have to be even an administrative or the God admin or any kind of administrative level domain credential on the network. All it needs to have is the local permissions on that local client machine. Another emphasis too that I appreciate them putting down here is scanning Active Directory. It only needs to have read-only access to Active Directory. It does not need to have access to everything else. To write information. One thing you may consider as well is, do you have a domain controller for these environments that are a little bit more secure, a little bit more fear of potentially that credential being compromised and trying to be used? Maybe you create that one credential on the domain for Active Directory, I'm talking, that has access to a specific server. So in this case, it has only the ability to log into a secondary domain controller. Maybe that domain controller is a read-only domain controller. So it's not just the user account that has read-only permissions, but maybe the domain controller itself is a read-only domain controller. So there's lots of security things that you can put in place that gives security that sense that you're thinking on their behalf, but it also is still giving Lansweeper the access that it needs to be able to manage the environment as well and get as much information as it can. These are going to be the same types of things for the Windows and Linux machines. Let's take a look at one of those. Here I have found a knowledge base article called Apple Mac Scanning Requirements, and it talks about here how to enable SSH and go through that process here. Let me scroll down a little ways though, and here's something that's interesting. So it says, once created, the user account should log in locally on the machine at least once to be able to scan the machine remotely afterwards. This is going to be important because what it's doing is making sure that account has access and has already created, you might say, a profile on that machine to be able to access and log in. And then it says, alternatively, the user account should have sudo privileges. This is the key line here that we often say here at Lansweeper. If you want to scan a Mac machine, just make sure you have sudo privileges. This is the easiest way to make sure that if you don't end up logging into a machine, with that account, that at least with sudo privileges, you can get in and get the information out of it. SSH is important, like we mentioned already. If I scroll back up here, sorry about that, making sure SSH is going to be used and is enabled in order to scan any Mac and Linux machines. So with those permissions in place, some credentials that have been created, and we only address the Windows, Linux, and Mac credentials, but you also may want to consider SSH credentials and SNMP community strings, and maybe some SNMP 2 or 3 permissions as well. Making sure all of that has been configured, you have gathered all that information, and you have all of the DHCP scopes that you have configured. Maybe, if you're like my past environments, you have maybe a /16. So you've got access to 65,000 IP addresses, but you've only configured maybe half a dozen or more /24 networks. And so you have access to a very large scope, but you're only using a few. Still, you may want to consider some scanning activity on these other subnets in order to make sure that you get everything that you can be found that could potentially impact your environment. But all that to say, just make sure that you have access to and you know all of the IP addresses that you want to address. And I think that's a great place to start, is making sure you have your credentials, the IP addresses, and then from there you can start expanding out to start accessing and targeting different types of scan targets. So with that in mind, let's look at network discovery. What is network discovery? How does it work? Beyond just the name of the product, let's look at the action of what network discovery actually does.